Eskom's Chief Operating Officer, Jan Oberholzer, says load shedding will remain with us for the next 12 to 18 months. He was speaking today at the Agri-SA Annual Congress, which started in Pretoria. Delegates to the Congress discussing food security issues amid local and global challenges. Our reporter Maloko Malota has been following the story. He joins me now. Maloko, thank you so much for your time. So Jan Oberholzer said they reckon about 18 months. He was, of course, hesitant to put any number to how long load shedding could last, because, of course, the president had to answer in Parliament recently when he was asked in 2015 and answered, about 2 years. 7 years later, here we are. So tell me a little bit more about what he said about the duration of these ongoing blackouts.
Hi, Sally Badet. So load shedding, along with farm killings, and as well as the whole issue around the expropriation of land bill that was approved now by Parliament. It's just waiting for the President to attach his signature. Those were some of the issues that are up for discussion in this two-day meeting in Pretoria. Obviously, the Chief Operating Officer of Eskom is one of the people invited to speak there. He had to address the issue of energy security. But he's saying that as Eskom, they intend to retire at least 9 of the 13 coal-powered stations in South Africa due to environmental issues. And he's warning that renewables alone will not be enough, of course, to cater for the electricity needs of South Africa. He talks of something called the hybrid mix, wherein you will bring all sorts of models or energy mixes. And he's saying that they are going to extend the lifespan of the Quebec nuclear plant in Cape Town by 20 additional years. It was supposed to be reaching its end of life in the next coming years. Coming to the issue of load shedding, as he correctly says, he was a bit reluctant to say when exactly is load shedding going to end. He's saying that it will take more than a year. So we need to go through this process, because he's saying they, as Eskom, must continue to maintain the plants that are currently there. Let's listen to Eskom's most senior officials when it comes to operations.
But in terms of load shedding, I believe it's here to stay for a period. Up until we have additional capacity that we can fulfill the demand of the country, while at the same time we can give that respect to the plant and maintain it properly, we're going to sit with challenging situation. Now, I'm very reluctant to give a time, because then people will hold me to it. But if you ask me, my gut feel, I would say another year, year and a half to get out of this. Now, I trust that we will not go through the same situation that we just had, stage 6, and load shedding for a whole month.
Yeah, I mean, you know what's funny in a very sort of unfunny sense is that I thought, oh, well, that's not so bad. I've sort of become used to the possibility that we're always going to have some level of load shedding. So a year and a half, if he's right, at least we can see an end point. Let's hope he is right. Also, of course, a big talking point is the fact that the Transnet strike is not resolved. Latest offer has been rejected by the unions. Portia Darby, who runs Transnet, she was at the conference. Of course, she's come in for quite a lot of flack because of her salary. The union saying she's taking home millions every year, accusing her of greed and not really caring about workers. What she had to say today.
So there are 3 cabinet ministers who are assisting in mediating between Transnet and the workers in this matter. The Minister of Public Enterprises, if I'm not wrong, Pravin Gordhan, the Minister of Employment and Labour, Thulas Nxesi, but also the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Land Reform, Togo Didiza. Now, Togo Didiza is saying we really are trying to show each side, the importance of compromising, get to a point where they will all agree, but she's not committing as to when the strike will end. Peter Groenewald, a leader of the FF Plus, is saying the workers are not showing sensitivity towards the need of South Africans, considering the state of the economy.
Yes, they're asking for double-digit increase is what he's
Exactly.
saying. That's just insensitive, he's saying, yeah?
That's what he's saying. Now, Portia Derby, the group CEO of Transnet, is saying that telling the delegates to that particular conference that their products really are not really contributing much. They're just a tiny contribution, particularly when it comes to rail transportation. So that tells you that the farmers prefer trucks, but then the products of the farmers are contributing more on the ports business side of Transnet. Obviously, they will have to try and bring their goods onto the rail. When it comes to the issue of the strike, when we went to her trying to interview her, she didn't want to talk, but when she was at the podium, she addressed partly this issue of the strike, saying that the labor costs constitute about over 60% of Transnet's overall operating costs. So she's saying it's not sustainable, really, to have this operating cost continuing to go up. Let's listen to her.
I know some people feel that that we should pay whatever is required. But the truth is, we have a responsibility to turn around Transnet and leave a strong, sustainable company on the other side of the divide. It's not sustainable to have about 66% of your operating cost being labor cost. I'm not talking about revenue, because that is something that we need to grow.
Of course, the unions today saying, yes, let's take a look at that 66% and see how much the upper echelons contribute to that, pointing to the fact that I think her salary is in the region of 8.5 million or something like that. So there's a lot of talk around this issue. There's a lot of unhappiness, and there's a lot of discussion about what is fair, what is not fair. We're going to be speaking to Labour analyst Terry Bell in the 6 o'clock. But I wanted to get a sense from you as we close. What was achieved today? Because we know that there's a problem at our ports. We know that our agriculture could be one of our biggest money spinners, that it does well already, but it's not at its potential. What do you think really was achieved by today's gathering?
Well, in the main, I think the farmers want certainty on their side of electricity, because if they don't have constant electricity supply, they will have to make alternatives. For instance, diesel would be expensive, and that's eating onto their revenue. But one thing that they also point out is that they have a responsibility as a federation to support transformation and impart their skills, ensure that there are more black commercial farmers in that sector. Importantly, you get a sense that the issue of farmer tax is really a thorny issue. They want an intervention in that regard. Of course, it's a 2-day meeting. Tomorrow it's continuing. But in the main, they just want to ensure that there's sustainability, because they're talking about not only food security, ensuring that there's food security. Food security, Sally, if there's food insecurity, they're saying it's going to affect everybody. But even if they can achieve to maintain food security, if there's going to be what they call food uncertainty, which they say is something that affects mainly the poor, where the poor would no longer be able to afford food. So they're saying those things, there need to be delicate balance that is struck, and obviously they need support from all the stakeholders.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone needs to pull together. Thank you so much, Maloto.